Oh,
Welcome
hello. Well,
back
welcome.
to school.
Oh my gosh. All three of them just went off. And I was like,
Bye.
bye. Love you. All my animals have been put in areas in the house where they're not going to interfere. This is like the first day of the rest of my life. Okay, for those of you because we're going to cut that part out. Can you imagine? I don't have any children at home. I am alone at home for the first time in 2.5 months. Okay.
Mm.
I have put all the animals in their, respective areas so that I can record. And guys, my screen just went black. Can you imagine the actual meltdown I will have if what fails today is the tech? I'll
No,
lose it.
no.
I'm sorry, guys, there will be no more triggered because Chantal will be in a mental asylum. God. Anyways, yeah, they're all off to school. I'm very
Oh,
happy.
so good. I know. So
Yeah.
my oldest is graduated, but
Mhm.
she's not ready to give up yet. So she's going. And I'm
Yeah.
like, have a great day at school. But like, we're graduated. So like, I didn't feel the need to be like, let's do your first day of school photo. No, ma'am.
No. No.
The next one will be at, like, college, and then my youngest literally rolled out of bed, put a ball cap on. I'm like, "So, what are you gonna wear?" He's like, "Clothes."
It's
'Cause
like, pardon?
boys don't care. He's like, "My boy doesn't care."
I won't throw mine under the bus, but he cares.
Does he?
My God.
I can't. Can't. So mine is just
Big,
like
big time.
mine literally is like, yeah, like, it's not like back to school, it's back to hockey.
Doesn't even care about the school. He's like, this is fine. This is
No.
good.
No, absolutely not. So yeah,
My
we're
gosh.
all back at it, which
Yeah,
means it is Halloween Eve for the entire month of
I know.
September. My
I know.
decorations
We're
are
so ready.
out.
Yeah.
All my fall decor is out.
Also,
My
guys,
pumpkins.
if you are listening to us on the podcast, that's wonderful. And thank you so much for listening. I really highly encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel and check out Ashley's studio
I have a studio now.
because it is vibing. It is a
Yeah.
whole vibe and I love it. I'm
Uh
obsessed.
Yesterday was my anniversary, my wedding anniversary,
That's right.
and I had all my things in here, but I was like, can you please put it together now? Before we get into Chantel's story, I just want to say, I won't name the restaurant, but my husband was like, guess what we're doing today for your anniversary? I'm
Yeah.
taking you to Spirit Halloween, which is like everything to
A
me.
dream come true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, we'll go for lunch. And then I'm going to, put together all your stuff for your studio because I've just had all this stuff sitting in a box. So we went and got food poisoning.
Oh, God, I know.
So we spent the entire afternoon just gravel on the couch. And
Oh,
Chantel finds it
that's
so
awful.
funny because at like 9:30 last night, we hadn't eaten all day and we're like, oh, we're hungry. And my husband like looks over and he's like, babe, you know what I would kill for right now? Meanwhile, the two of us have been sprinting to the bathroom all day. Taco Bell.
This is so distressing to me. Like if we get food poisoning, it's like a cleanse for a week. I'm washing everything. We're eating like crackers. You crazy animal. I can't with you.
I had some fries supreme and a cheesy
Oh yeah.
gordita crunch.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then the cleanse came and I was like, well, maybe that wasn't a good idea, but I made it.
Yeah.
We
Here
made
we
it.
are. We're here. We're doing
Yeah.
the thing. Well, we are here. And I promise you, this case is 100 million times worse than any food poisoning you've ever had.
Give it to me.
So we're going to get right into it and get going. I am giving a general trigger warning for this case.
Yes.
It is gruesome, my friends. So if that is not something that you feel like tapping into on your Friday, I totally understand. Join us on Tuesday. But if it is something that you're interested in hearing about, welcome. So I wanted to start this episode, as I generally do, with asking you a question.
All right.
All right. Let's say you see a 6-year-old kid. He's
Okay.
not your kid. He's somebody else's kid. What is one red flag that you would be like, I'm concerned about what he or she is going to do when they're older? Like what would you look at and think, "Oh my God."
Anything to do with animals.
Okay.
If
Yep.
I see a kid that just like obviously is cruel to animals,
Mhm.
but then like so here's the thing. I knew a kid.
Uh, this is terrifying.
And yeah. And I it was a girl and she's the same age as my daughter. Like I've known her whole life.
Mhm.
Um and there's something.
Yeah. And
And
that's it. Like sometimes it's just a feeling.
because this child had selective mutism, so very intelligent person, can
Yeah.
talk, everything else. And I real time watched this child, she's not a child anymore, this
Right.
child witch in front of my face.
Mhm.
And by
Mhm.
that I mean like I watched the eyes change, I watched the demeanor change, I watched the
Yeah.
personality change. And then all of a sudden the mutism disappeared and it was nonstop talking and it was very strange to
Interesting.
me. And then knowing the things that I know, I'm like, something about someone who chooses mute, and because selective mutism is a mental disorder. It's a really it's hard. It's anxiety induced mutism, but
Mhm.
I don't think that's what that kid had.
Interesting.
I think that kid
Interesting.
was choosing,
Mm.
because I watched it.
Yeah. No, that is interesting.
Yeah, very strange.
Can you move your camera more center where you're in this or move over? Yeah.
Better.
Yeah. I was just worried that when it does the TikTok thing, it's going to cut you off and that
Okay.
would suck. Yeah, that is very interesting for sure. So I know you've heard of this, Ashley, but maybe our friends haven't. There is something called the McDonald triad.
Mm-hmm.
And it is 3 things: bedwetting,
Mm-hmm.
fire setting, and cruelty to animals.
Yeah,
Now, this is not to say if you know a child who wets their bed that
no,
they're going to grow up to be a serial killer.
I was a
However,
bedwetter.
yeah, over the years, psychiatrists and psychologists and criminal psychologists have created this McDonald triad. So when they see a child who is coming into their office, bedwetting, fire, interest in fire, or like setting fire to things, and cruelty to animals, it is kind of the initial red flag that something might be up
Absolutely. Yep.
and that we need to look into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, so let's get into this. There is something primal about the fear of an unlocked door. A door left open is an invitation, and anyone who has seen Sinners, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least that's how the man in the story saw it. When FBI profiler Robert Ressler later asked him why he chose certain houses to commit these atrocious crimes, his answer was chilling AF. He
Mhm.
said, "If the door was locked, that means you're not welcome. If it's open, you are." Yep. And that man was Richard Trenton Chase.
I
By the
know
time
Richard.
I know,
I
I
love
know
Richard.
so many. Do
He's
you?
very yeah, he's
He's
so
something
fucked
else.
up. But you
Yeah.
know what? I shouldn't say I love Richard. The reason I love Richard is because this is one of those ones that really makes you think about the psychopathy of human beings.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's exactly why I even talk about him,
Yeah.
because he is a textbook case that we can look at and really delve into how did this start? Why did this start? What happened here? By the time Sacramento knew his name, he had become the Vampire of Sacramento, a figure whose paranoia, delusions, and actual real hunger for blood led him to commit crimes so grotesque that detectives, doctors, and even seasoned profilers struggled to comprehend them and struggled to move on from them. There were so many professionals who left their entire careers after
Yes.
Richard. But because we're diving into the psychology of this, Richard's story doesn't begin with murder. It begins with a boy who believed something was wrong with his body. and who grew into a man convinced that the only cure for his decay was blood.
And you have to wonder, was it influenced by film? Was it influenced because he didn't just come up with this one day.
And he was so young when this all started. And I'm going to take us through like his whole history so that we can collectively be like, what in the fuck? Richard was born May 23rd, 1950 in Santa Clara County, California. On the surface, his childhood looked like many others in mid-century suburbia. His father worked, his mom kept the house. But underneath there were cracks, rumors of a strict, sometimes abusive father, and a mother who struggled with her own mental health. So it was one of these families where everything looked goody from the outside, but on the inside, Dad, there were reports that he abused Richard and Richard's mom, and Richard's mother had many mental health struggles, including depression and anxiety.
Because if you're getting beat and abused, obvi.
And it's 1950, so you're not.
No.
I mean, sometimes I really wonder about the women in the 50s because if something were to now I'm in the best relationship of my life, but if something were to happen to me, I have support up the yin yang
Yes.
to get help, to get away, to whatever. But in the 50s, they didn't. It was
In the
he's
50s,
your
it was
husband.
he's your husband, take a Valium
Yeah, he's
and
your husband.
fucking
He
carry
owns
on.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I can't imagine what these women went through. So even as a child, Richard showed signs that something was off. By 10 years old, he was torturing and killing animals, including cats.
There it is.
Yeah. His behavior, like we spoke about before, fit what psychologists call the McDonald triad: bedwetting, fire setting, and cruelty to animals. And like we said before, not every single child who has one or even three of
No.
these turns into a serial killer. It is a warning, though, and we would encourage anyone who knows a child with this triad. They certainly need to be evaluated, and they might need a little bit of extra help, and that's
Yep.
okay.
That's fine.
Richard did not get this help.
No.
No. In school, he struggled. His grades were poor. He was socially awkward. By his teens, he was experimenting heavily with marijuana and later LSD. And I mean, large amounts of LSD.
Okay,
To put this
so
into perspective, go ahead.
LSD. Can we talk about
Yeah,
this for a sec?
we certainly can.
There is proof now because it does change the chemical compounds in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, when I was in high school, LSD was a really big thing. Did I take LSD? Absolutely, I did once because never will I ever go through that again. That is a whole situation I don't want to be a part of. That is not okay. But my point is a lot of people in high school did. Like they would, drop acid on the weekend.
Yeah,
It was
sure.
whatever. However, there was this acid called Jerry Garcia that was going around.
I can't believe you
it was.
remember the name of this.
Girl, it haunts me because there was this girl, she was a little bit older and she, hung out with these people. I didn't really hang out with her. I wasn't really part of that group because I wasn't doing those crazy things. I did do it one time because peer pressure, but like they would do it all the time. Well, she got a bad hit of acid and forever was like schizophrenic after.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And a couple people who were in that like group that were all taking this like recreationally, some of them all ended up totally fucked up.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So I think if you have an underlying, maybe something that hasn't surfaced and you take a drug, it can like bring it to the surface.
Well, absolutely. And Richard's LSD use was like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
Because there was already things going on with him that were unusual, and it just accelerated that. Also, what I found when I was researching, which I was like, oh my God, the 60s were a time. Because so today, the average, like a reasonable dose of LSD is 20 to 30 micrograms. Okay.
I don't know how do people measure it? Because like when I had taken it, it was a piece of paper.
Okay, so when you would have taken it, the piece of paper would have been 20 to 30 micrograms.
Okay.
Like that's like an average dose. It's going to get you what you want, etc. But in the 60s, their average dose was 200
Ah,
micrograms.
let me
So
tell
they were
you,
like
if anyone out
next
there is
level.
curious about what it's like to take it, don't. Because I
Oh, I
did that
would
for you.
never.
No,
No,
no.
like I can't. I think my brain would blow up. I
I
don't
think
think it
my
has the
brain did.
capacity.
I probably have never been the same.
You're like, actually, that's when it all started.
It all started as Chucky's, my bobblehead is just.
He's bobbling in the background.
What
I
happened to
can't.
Ashley? It's the LSD.
So yeah, so he was like doing heavy doses of LSD. And like we said, there was clearly something underlying here, and it just made it 100 times worse. By the time Richard was 18, he was seeing a psychiatrist, but it was for erectile dysfunction. So, and this part made me like, I was like, are you actually kidding? This is the state of this world. So we're not going to a psychiatrist for the torturing of animals, but our pee-pee doesn't work, so we're going to check it out. We're
Off
going to
to
get
the
help for that.
doctor.
Yeah, I was like, that was the most
Like,
man thing I have ever heard
That
in my
is
life.
such a man thing.
Yeah,
They could be like, and I have to giggle because like it's so true, right? Like,
yeah,
like my brain is broken, but my pee-pee ain't
no
working.
problem.
I'm going.
911, let's go. I have an emergency. Yeah, exactly. Doctors obviously believed it wasn't a physical problem at all, but psychological, rooted in deep-seated anger and repression. But at that time, treatment was limited. And he kind of slipped through the cracks because they were like, I'm sorry that your dick isn't working. Have you tried going for a walk? Like, you know, like they didn't know. They knew there was some kind of connection, but they didn't know how to treat it. When Richard was 21, he moved in with roommates, but quickly upset them all. He would go around and board up the doors and closets, paranoid that intruders, or worse, because he was claiming there were unseen forces after him, would come into the house. And can you imagine being a roommate? And you wake up one morning and your front door is boarded shut.
You're like, I gotta go to work.
I would be like, I gotta leave permanently. I can't be here with you, you crazy. In 1972, his parents divorced. So he was a young adult, but it still made an impact on him. And he was actually bouncing between their homes because obviously he couldn't afford the apartment on his own when his roommates skedaddled. So he had to go between mom and dad's. He drifted through odd jobs and community college classes, but he never settled. Friends and family described him as becoming increasingly strange during this time, and he became obsessed with illness and injury. And I had a little bit of a
I know someone like that.
Gulp moment where I was like, ooh, okay, but it didn't sound okay. It didn't necessarily sound, he was definitely a hypochondriac, but it didn't necessarily sound like he was afraid of illness and injury. He was more just fascinated by it.
Morbidly curious.
Like, this is happening, and I think this is happening. So here's where we start really seeing the delusional side of Richard, because at this time, he would tell everyone that would listen his blood was turning to powder.
To powder?
To powder. He was convinced that his blood within his body was turning to powder and that his organs were shrinking. And this is the real kicker. He told everyone someone had stolen his pulmonary artery. You can't live without your pulmonary artery. So probably not.
People are just letting him run amok. Like,
well,
I have no pulmonary artery.
I'm like, the minute that someone says, oh, hey, like, can you imagine someone coming up to you at a store and being like, did you know that I don't have a heart? You'd be like, we're going to get you some help because of course you do. So this is where he was at. This was his state of mind come 1973. Doctors at this point were increasingly concerned, and he was admitted to the psych ward of American River Hospital and was then diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. which
I
I
was
was
gonna
like,
say,
great.
there it
We're
is. Yeah.
finally doing something about this. On more than one occasion, Richard was found in his room with blood smeared all over his face because he was catching birds through the bars on his windows, biting their heads off and drinking their blood.
You know, it is a miracle to me that that motherfucker wasn't sick as fuck every day. When I had a pita yesterday
You had a
that
bad
ruined
pita, ruined your whole anniversary.
God.
I know. So nurses began calling him Dracula because no shit. Yeah, I can't even imagine their job. Like I get stressed out because I have 8 meetings today that I have to attend, and these poor nurses are going to work in the morning expecting Dracula. It's
Right?
insane. Yeah.
Picking up dead birds.
Yeah, catching them, like luring them to the bars and then chopping their heads off. Like this is next. This is bad.
Like full
And
Ozzy Osbourne, like,
yeah, and he fully believed that. So again, his blood is turning to powder. He was like, "Oh, the only way that I can that I can fix this is by reintroducing flowing blood." That was his theory on this whole thing.
okay.
At this time, doctors labeled him dangerously psychotic,
Yeah.
and yet he was eventually medicated and released into the care of his mama.
As they all are.
But guess what? Mommy wasn't watching him closely enough, and Richard stopped taking his meds. He had also begun accusing his mother of regularly poisoning him. So she did the only thing she could think of. She got him his own apartment. Wrong answer, Mommy.
That's a terrible idea, Mom.
What?
So he can have his own space to do his fucked up weird
He's
shit?
he's no longer medicated.
No.
He's delusional.
Mm-hmm.
And Mom was like, I know what you need. You need your privacy. You need your own space.
Oh.
So she gets him this apartment, and it did not take long for Richard to go right off the deep end. He regularly hunted and killed animals around his apartment, and he would make smoothies with their organs and blood to drink regularly.
Delicious.
This escalated when his mom came by one day, and he was in the backyard with someone's pet cat that he had cut open and was rummaging around in its organs, smearing the blood all over his body, all over his face.
Like, imagine you're like, I'm gonna go and bring some lunch and let's have a visit.
I can't imagine, Ashley. And another thing is, I know we want to believe that our children can be fixed if they have a
Of
problem.
course.
In that moment, the only answer was calling someone to come get him and lock him
Yes.
up.
He can't be
So
alone.
the fact that she didn't do that and she was just like, "Oh, that's my boy," is weird. And I
But
truly believe like this is one of those determining moments in this story where I just
Mhm.
think you could have stopped it all, Mom.
But keep in mind, Mom has been dealing with this for years and years and years and years. She is like
Absolutely.
probably
She
beat
has her own
down.
issues.
She's
Yeah.
got mental health issues
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so like, did she have the faculties to realize how bad this was going to go?
Well, exactly. And I imagine she was still in that mind frame of like, well, he's not hurting anybody. Like he's weird, but
Okay.
whatever. Anyway, neighbors regularly complained of foul smells emanating from his place, which, no kidding,
Ew.
no
Ugh.
kidding. Yeah, really bad.
And there's nothing like that smell.
I sometimes when I'm driving on the road and I have to
Mhm.
stop at a light and there's roadkill like up the road and my window's down, I have to put my window up because I'm just like the smell is horrifying. So
Mm-mm.
I cannot imagine that being in someone's house and like you're sharing a building with them. No.
Ugh.
Nope, nope, no, no. All right. It's now December 1977. He tested the waters. He
Ooh.
tried to break into a woman's home, but she locked the door, screamed at the top of her lungs, and he ran. And for Chase, this kind of started his ritual, testing doors, searching for an open invitation. And it was almost like when she ran into her house and locked the door, he was like, oh, she doesn't want me in there. And he
Oh,
left.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought you wanted
Yeah.
me to come by.
Yeah, right?
The fuck?
It was only a few weeks later, on December 29th, that Ambrose Griffin was helping his wife bring groceries in from the car. They had 2 kids, just an average dude. He was 51 years old. Richard drove by, shots rang out. He killed Ambrose in his own driveway and sped off.
Shot him.
Shot him dead for
Where the fuck
no
did he get a
reason.
gun?
Oh, Ash. Not only was he interested in animals, he became fascinated with firearms, and everyone just sold
Mm.
them to him.
Well, it's the
Because at the
70s.
time, exactly,
Yeah.
at the time, we didn't have where, you have records and you have all
You
this
need a
stuff.
license.
So, nope, not
But I
license
also do
needed.
think, because this is the US, like, we live in Canada, so we're like, "Where did you get a gun?" I like, being a Canadian, if today I was like, "You know what I need? I need a gun." I wouldn't know how to get a gun.
We Yeah, and I mean, and the states are each state is different, but,
Yeah.
like, when we went down to the States, we stopped at a gas station that had shotguns for sale. Like, it seems like a really easy thing, which is fascinating to us because we do not have that here.
No.
So, drive-by shooting, the thrill was intoxicating for
Oh,
Richard.
yeah.
He was like, "I did it. That was my first human kill." And police
Mhm.
had assumed it was like a mistaken identity drive-by shooting
Yeah.
because they were like, "Who gets gunned down bringing in their groceries
No.
at 4 o'clock on an afternoon?" Like, it was crazy.
But the thing with a shooting for somebody like him
Mhm.
is it's not close enough. So while you're getting the
Aha.
thrill, it's not
Correct.
intimate enough for him.
Correct. And by the sounds of it, and after, he was interviewed after this all ends, that's exactly what happened. He was
Mhm.
like, it teased the part in me that wants this, but it did not
Mhm.
satisfy it. All right. January 1978 was a month of pure terror in Sacramento. On January 3rd, Teresa Wallen kisses her husband goodbye. She was 22 and had just found out she was about 3 months pregnant. Not long after her husband left for the day, Teresa empties the garbages and heads down the hall to the front door to throw it in the bin. Suddenly, her front door swings open and there is Richard Chase. Teresa drops the bag of garbage and shields her face with her hands from the gun he's pointing at her. The first shot enters her hand and exits her elbow, which I can only imagine is the most incredibly painful
Oh,
thing you could experience.
yeah,
Then he fires 2 more times, but this time he shoots her in the head, killing her and her unborn child instantly.
of course.
My friends, major trigger warning here. If you were even a little bit queasy and uneasy about what I have told you so far, just skip ahead a few minutes because this is bad. All right, if you're still here, this is on you. He then grabs a large knife from the kitchen and drags her body into her bedroom. He rapes her and stabs her at the same time,
It's gross.
which even just the image of that is
Mhm.
terrifying.
Mhm.
When he was done, her torso was completely disseminated. Like it was just mess.
Ugh.
He took a bucket and collected her organs and as much of her blood as he could. He went to the bathroom mirror and covered himself from head to toe in her blood. As he's heading back to the bedroom, he opens the bag of garbage Teresa had been holding, grabs a discarded yogurt container, and uses it as a cup to scoop up her blood and drink it.
Like,
He
this
then, Mhm. Oh, I know, it's real bad.
Mhm.
He then proceeded to go to the backyard, picked up dog feces, and put it in her mouth.
Like, what the fuck?
I know, I know. Teresa's husband returns home and is initially startled by all the lights being off. So he gets home after his day of work. All the lights are off and the radio is blasting and the house is trashed. So he walks, we're opening the door. He sees the trash bag ripped open, trash everywhere. And he said at first he thought the blood everywhere was oil because for anyone who hasn't seen large amounts of blood where it's not supposed to be, it does look oily. And of course, that's where his mind went because it didn't go to what actually happened. He follows the blood to the bedroom and discovers what we can only imagine is the most horrifying scene. He later said he stood there for a moment and it was like his brain was fighting to register exactly what he was looking at, because of course it was.
No, because our brains are not meant to
No.
break that
And
down.
that's what he said. He was like, I stood there actually for a couple moments
Mhm.
because my brain was fighting with itself.
This
Part of
poor
my brain was
man.
saying, you're looking at what you think you're looking at. And the
Mhm.
other part was like, are you dreaming? What is this?
Am I hallucinating? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This is so fucking sad.
It's awful. Eventually, after a couple minutes of him just standing there staring at this, he screamed at the top of his lungs so loudly that neighbors came running into the house and also saw this horror laid out before them.
Well, how do you think, and there's no way to tell because I've never seen that level of depravity in my
No.
life,
No.
but I almost could guarantee I know what I would do.
Yeah, what would you do?
I would go in the closet and I would cover my ears and cover my eyes, and I would have to stay there until someone found me because I wouldn't be able, I know how I am.
Mm,
You are a fighter and a doer. I shut down. Everything goes away.
yeah,
I would
it just stops.
disassociate so hard. I would probably just sit there because I wouldn't be able to, I
Yeah,
can't process.
no. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could process it. Like,
no.
I actually don't know how I would react in that
And he
situation.
wouldn't have known she was pregnant.
Richard?
Yeah,
No, he didn't.
no. Okay.
He didn't. It's only 4 days later,
Mm,
on January 27th, he struck again.
yeah.
This time with even more unthinkable brutality. Now, I am not going into details here, and I'll tell you why after. The victims were 38-year-old Evelyn Meredith, her 6-year-old son Jason, her 22-month-old nephew David, and her friend Dan Meredith. Chase shot them all. He mutilated Evelyn, performed necrophilia, and drank her blood. Then he took baby David's body with him when he left.
Fucking gross.
And that is all I'm telling you about this because this year, Vern Miroth, the only remaining member of the Miroth family, Evelyn was his mother, wrote an article. And we have to, and I'm actually really glad that I came across this because we have to remember when we cover these cases, there are real people behind these stories. He wrote about how podcasts, just like ours, are
Yep.
monopolizing and making murderers celebrities. And
Yeah.
I respect that 110%. Because we can sit here and say that we would feel differently, that we would be okay with our family stories being out there and being told. But the truth is, we've never experienced anything like that. And we can't say how we would be.
No. No.
So instead of going into details that would upset Vern, because that is never our purpose on this
No.
podcast, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
take an excerpt from his article to tell you about his mom.
Okay.
He says, my mother was born on February 8th, 1941, in Paua, Hawaii. She graduated from St. Francis Convent School in Honolulu. She went on to graduate from Honolulu Business College with a legal secretary major. She moved to Sacramento and worked as a secretary at a local school for several years before she started her family. A favorite recipe of hers was what she called wine cake, which I've recently learned how to make in her honor, which I was like,
Wine cake. Those are my two favorite things.
stop the presses. Why am I 38 years old and I have not had wine cake?
You're telling me this whole time I could have been having my wine and cake too?
I would like some I'd like some wine cake immediately. So
Aw.
she sounds like a strong woman, and I
Mhm.
am so sorry that she was taken in the way that she was taken.
Absolutely.
And that's all we're going to say about Vern's family. The city was paralyzed with fear
Well,
because in
yeah.
the span of 1 week, it was just madness.
And that's a really fast escalation Because usually your
Very
cooling off
fast.
period, especially after the first couple, like, it does, like and as we know, like,
Yeah.
with this type of thing, the
Mhm.
cooling off period maybe will be a month, but 4 days
Yeah.
right out the gate? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa.
So fast. So fast. Now, 2 months later, baby David's remains were found discarded in a box behind a church. The break in the case actually came from eyewitnesses to the Miroth tragedy. One neighbor had seen Chase near the Miroth home and they knew him. So they recognized him for whatever reason. And we have to remember, Richard was awkward and weird, but he wasn't a loner. So he was out in the community and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
did know who he was. He tried to hold down jobs. He never really did, but he was out and about. So this person that saw him recognized him and said, "Hey, I saw Richard Chase by the Miroth home the day that this happened." Another person recalled him buying ammunition, and they said he was really weird while he was doing it. So now police are like, all right, so someone saw him at the Meredith home and he was buying ammunition, being a weirdo about it. We
Yeah.
got to check this out.
Yeah.
So they go to his apartment. Knock, 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 knock. Police. Richard comes to the door. He's like, hello. So they ask him a couple questions in the door and they say, Richard, we're going to have to come in and have a look around. And he goes, okay. Steps back. Police walk in to an actual shit show. Blood stained every single wall, the floors, the kitchen. There was blood stains everywhere.
He just painted the house.
Yeah, just went nuts. They opened up the refrigerator and it contained animal parts and human remains. So these horrible crimes that he committed, he was taking to-go containers. He was leaving with parts to put in his fridge for later.
So he is basically has a fridge full of groceries
Mhm.
in his fridge. Now, my question is, because I haven't read about him in quite some time, actually not that long ago, but like, was he, killing people in between these two murders that we know of?
No. So at the end, when we go through it, he is only charged with 6
Okay.
murders,
Because I
which is
wasn't
the
sure,
ones
like,
we've
were there
covered.
murders that weren't solved that he could have been? Maybe.
Honestly, who we may never know. We may never know. I mean, he has a pretty ritualistic,
Yeah.
you know, um,
He has a footprint.
he
Like, there's like a fingerprint
he
that
has
he
a
leaves, kind of.
ritualistic footprint. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like they probably would have connected them, but who knows? Like he was a paranoid schizophrenic on the loose, unmedicated. So who really knows what he was capable of
And
doing?
it was hippie times.
Mm-hmm.
People were
My
just out
favorite
there
time.
living. There was no cell
Vibin'.
phones. Yeah.
No. No. All right. Richard is arrested on January 9th, 1978. During interrogations with psychiatrists, he was eerily matter of fact about what he'd done. He was describing the killings as if it was necessary or even logical. So he had no conscience. He
No.
had no empathy. He was literally like, yeah, I did that. And this is why I did that. Like, what's wrong with you that you don't understand that?
Well, to him, because he's
Mhm.
so fucking psychotic and he's ill, like, we do have to
Yes.
remember this is a sick
Very
person.
sick. Yeah.
That is no different than, slaughtering a chicken or cutting up a side of beef. To him, he is like,
Yeah.
this makes sense to me because I need it for survival. Which just kind of paints a picture of how things can
Mhm.
go so sideways when someone is mentally ill and untreated.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And his trial began in January 1979. So just a year after his trial
Okay.
began. His defense argued insanity. Obviously, his delusions were completely undeniable. He believed, so these were some things that came up during trial. He said he needed blood to live, or his blood would turn to powder. He believed
Okay.
that Nazis were poisoning him,
Yeah.
that UFOs controlled his mind, but the prosecution said that's bullshit. He was aware of his actions. He knew right from wrong
It was premeditated.
because and he was running away. He was hiding.
Yeah.
He wasn't,
Yeah.
if he was that delusional, he would have come out of the house being like, look what I just did. And he didn't
Exactly.
do that. So that was
Exactly.
their argument. After just 5 hours of deliberation, the jury convicted him of 6 counts of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to die in the gas chamber at San Quentin. But Richard would never make it to the gas chamber because on Christmas Eve, 1980, he had been hoarding his antidepressants for quite a while, stockpiled them, and took his own life that evening. He was 30 years old.
Okay. Because what he did, like, this was a monster living on this earth.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
can't be here. We can't have him.
No. No, we
He
can't
does
have
not
that.
belong here.
No.
But you have to also look at this. Like, do I think he should have been issued the death penalty? 100%.
Yeah.
Because we can't have that. However, you know, he should have been under more strict care that shouldn't have happened.
Well, and this is what I was saying at the beginning and please don't think that I'm putting all the blame on his mother. However, when they had released him from the psychiatric ward, they released him into the care of his mother.
Yeah.
When she saw him ripping a cat apart in the backyard, and I know there's probably a whole story there of her own shit that she was
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
But that would have been the moment to be like, oh, he actually can't be out here.
No, he needs to be locked up because,
Mm-hmm.
this is a tricky one, I feel, because it's very black and white. This was somebody who was very sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do I think he was evil? We'll never really know.
We'll never
But
really know.
I think it was more illness than
I tend to agree with you. I tend to side more on this was a sickness and the thing is, he did so well in the psych ward when he was
on his
medicated.
meds. Yeah.
He was doing well. He wasn't drinking blood. He wasn't killing the birds anymore. He had it under control for
Yeah.
that time period. So it just seems like he fell through the cracks in terms of he didn't have caretakers that could monitor him and make sure that his medication was being taken.
And that is a scary thought because, mental illness is, growing more and more in popularity. And I personally know people who have paranoid delusional schizophrenia. I've seen it in action. I've seen it unmedicated. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But I also know I've seen people with paranoid delusional schizophrenia on medication and they're loving and they're functional. So
Of course.
this is a really tricky one for me because that is an illness that is very close to home for me and I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen both sides of it. I've seen the violence. I've seen the depravity. And so normally I am like, this person was evil. This person was fucked up. Maybe it's my own bias because of what I know and what I've experienced. But it's these stories that break my heart because had he been given the proper treatment as a kid and, those, assessments were available at that time, things we know now, maybe all those victims would still be alive. Maybe he would have grown up to have a normal, semi-normal life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just very sad. It's just
it is
fucking
very sad. It's sad all around. And, Richard Chase is studied to this day by the FBI when they're training new recruits because he is textbook disorganized lust killer.
Yeah.
And so they do use him as that. But we have to remember throughout this whole thing, and as I mentioned before, I'm going to share Vern's article in the show notes because it stopped me in my track. Not that we ever come to these episodes with disrespect for the family, because that is never our intention. But it did stop me in my track and made me think, good for him for coming out and expressing his wishes and how these things affect him. So We don't
Absolutely.
tell you this story to make Richard a celebrity. We are
Absolutely not.
fascinated by the psychology and the, descent into madness, essentially, what we
As
see
yeah.
here with Richard.
Well, and it's important to, we're not glorifying this person,
No, no.
but at the same time, if you can look at this story and be like, "Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know a kid."
exactly. Exactly. And this is the thing. And what I really wanted to leave this episode with is, this is a dramatic situation. This
Yeah,
is paranoid schizophrenia. However, and I am not a doctor. I do not take my medical advice. I'm crazy.
we're all crazy
But at the
around here.
same time, sometimes it's okay to take the medicine.
Yep.
Sometimes. And I fully respect you if you don't want to. I fully respect, where you stand and your fears and all that. But at the same time, just take a minute. Take a minute, do your research, figure out what's best for you. And sometimes it's okay. It's all right to
Yep.
take the meds.
100%.
Yeah. So
Thank
thank
you
you so much.
for sharing that.
You're very welcome. And don't forget, check out our YouTube. You can see Ash's new studio. Follow us on all our socials. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we have TikTok, we got the things. So check us
And
out.
also, because shamelessly, here I am.
We are not done with the face of Halloween.
I am in first place right now in my group. Voting closes tonight. I'll find out if I'm in the second round. But please, daily votes, Face of Halloween. You can find me on there.
Yeah,
I would love your votes.
Pinned. Yeah, we have it pinned at the top of our Facebook page. So check it out. Shoot Ashley a vote and let's get her. I mean, you are the face of Halloween. You are my face of Halloween. So. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you on Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.